Alright, so I wanted to create a little quick video to help you guys get started using Excel. So I'm using Microsoft Excel 2007, and I already have a preloaded file, but let me just bring this up here. I'll post this file with the video, that way you guys can maybe work along beside me and manipulate the data as I do it. So what we want to see here is that in Excel, the file itself is called a workbook. The features of a workbook include that you can have multiple sheets, or these tabs down here are called sheets, worksheets. So a worksheet is just a collection of a bunch of cells. Each one of these little boxes is a cell. What's nice about Microsoft Excel is that it blends text entry with data entry. So I mean, I know I can create a table in, say, Microsoft Word, but I can't perform calculations with that data. So for example, let's say I wanted to find the sum of a couple of these numbers. I can use Microsoft Excel, let's see, find sum. I can use Excel to find, okay, equals sum. So what I'm doing here is I'm setting off a formula using equal sign, and then I know the command for sum is sum parenthesis, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the numbers that I want to find the sum of. Okay, so I'm selecting these, okay, and it has this reference kind of thing here. We're going to say, okay, great, and we're going to hit enter. Okay, so it found the sum. It added up all of these numbers for us and found the sum to be 157. Notice though, I mean, it doesn't tell us what this number is. So if you're just glancing at this, you won't see that this is really a sum. But when you double click on this, it shows you the formula used to create that value. Okay, there's some other ones that we can talk about. We can talk about finding the average value, and we say, okay, equals average. Okay, and again, we select all the values that we want to incorporate. I mean, you can also do them one by one. So I can say find the average of 6, comma 9, comma 9, comma 10, on and so forth, and down. Okay, or you can just select the full range. Alright, so it says the average of this set is 7.85. What you'll notice about this is if I were to right click this and go to Format Cell, I can change the style of the box. In other words, I can say that this box should be a number, or this box should just be a text. In which case, it would say, instead of this being a number I could manipulate, it would look like, say, number 1, or something that's just a text. So I'm going to say that this is a number, and I want to increase the number of decimal places. Okay, so notice I can make it however refined I want. Okay. Another nice feature with Excel is that we can use it to sort large data sets. So these aren't too big. These are coming out of Chapter 2, number 1, the frequency, the data set that we were using to create a frequency distribution. What we can do is we can use Excel to sort this. So if I go to the Data tab and go to Sort, okay, sort and filter. What I want to do is sort these, let's say, from small to large. So I just click that. Notice I already had selected the whole range of numbers that I wanted to incorporate. I can also sort them from large to small. Okay. Alright, well, sorry about the little gap in the recording. I had a call come in, so I stopped it. Anyway, picking up, we were talking about what happens when we sort this data, we can then build a frequency distribution for this. So one of the things I want to do is insert a column here. So just insert, give myself some space here. And what we're going to notice is that with our data set here, our values range from 10 all the way down to 4. So if we're going to do a frequency distribution, I can say, okay, my x values, and I can talk about maybe the count or the frequency. Okay, so my values range from 10 to 9 to 8, on and so forth. I'm actually going to cheat a little bit and have Excel capture the pattern. So highlighting 10 to 8, I'm going to click this lower right corner and drag, and notice it goes 7, 6, 5, 4. Okay, and then what we're going to do is use Excel as a fancy calculator here and say, okay, well, how many 10s do I have? So if you look in this upper right hand corner and watch, as I click and drag, it says 3 rows by 1 column. So I'm going to use that. Okay, there's 3 10s, 6 9s, 4 8s, 2 7s, 3 6s, 1 5, and 1 4. Okay, we have a nice little frequency distribution. We can use Excel to put a little box around this. Okay, we want to put let's see, all borders on it maybe, and get ourselves a little table there. You can edit this as you like. You can change the shading. You can say, okay, we'll make that part, let's fill it with some gray, and then we have a nice little table there. We can also use a preloaded command in Excel to count up all the values for us. But since a lot of times the counting is not really what we want to do, I mean, we want to count, yes, but we also want to make a chart, a histogram or a bar chart, something like this. So in order to do that, we want to unlock the data analysis tool pack in Excel. So if you come up here to the Office button and go down to Excel options, we're going into the Add-in tab. Click there and go Manage Add-ins. Go. Okay, so we're looking for the Analysis Tool Pack. Select that, and the Analysis Tool Pack VBA. Select that, and hit OK. So what's happening is here on the data ribbon, we had all these features before, but now we have this added data analysis. Okay, so what we want to do is have Excel create a histogram for us, which would also produce this frequency distribution. So we go data analysis, and it's kind of nice. I mean, later on in the semester we'll be using some of these other features like ANOVA or the t-test down here, even regression, but for right now we're going to use the histogram. You can also have Excel run some descriptive statistics for you. Maybe I'll do another video on that later. With the histogram here, one of the things that you'll notice when I click this, it's asking for an input range and a bin range. So the input range would be all the data, all the values in your data set, and then the bin range is the intervals that we want to set for that interval scale, or the ratio scale. So in this case, the bin range would be all the values 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. You could create the bin range to be all the values in between 4 and 6, 6 and 8, 8 and 10, on and so forth. So for this, the input range, we're going to say, okay, all the values from 10 to 4. And for the bin range, I'm going to select all the values 10 to 4. And I'm going to put this in a new worksheet called Histogram. And I'm going to select Chart Output. And hit OK. Great. So notice it organizes this and gives us a frequency distribution, the bin being the count or the values that we're taking on. We have a little histogram here. One of the things you have to remember about a histogram is really it's a bar chart for quantitative variables, so we need to get rid of the gap in between each one of these bars. To do that in Excel, we would right click any one of the bars and go to Format Data Series, and we're going to make this gap width here go to 0, so we don't want any gap width. And notice that when I change that, the gaps between the bars change. Okay, so we want no gap to say that we could be 4 or 5, or it's a continual count up from 4 to 10. Okay, and there we have a histogram, but we also get a frequency distribution. Excel always puts in this category more, because a histogram is really measuring the count of numbers in between a range of numbers. So this is saying all the numbers between 3 and 4. That's back here between 4 and 5, so all the 4s, between 5 and 6, so all the 5s, 6 and 7, all the 6s, and this is saying every number more than 10. So we don't actually have that category, in which case we can remove it from consideration. Okay. Excel will also produce other kinds of charts for us, a bar chart. Later on we'll talk about a histogram, a scatter plot and things, so we can insert all these various charts. If you want to make a bar chart without using the histogram feature, I would recommend using the column versus the bar chart. But with the column, you have to keep in mind that normally it's talking about either an ordinal scale or a nominal scale. So since in my frequency distribution I have two variables here, and both of them are quantitative, so in order to make a column chart work, I would have to make these texts. We talked about changing the format, so I'd have to change the format here to text, and then I can make a column chart. Alright, let's make a little bar chart for the size distribution of t-shirts for problem number 15 in chapter 2. I've already made a chart, so I just want to talk about how did I make this. Okay, when you look at this data set, I just pulled this straight out of the textbook. We're looking at the distribution of freshman t-shirt sizes. With Excel, it's really nice. I mean, if you have one of your columns that's already set up with labels, all you need to do is select the whole data, the range of data, including the labels, and we'd come here to column and select the most basic of column charts. This is a bar chart also. Select that, and immediately it outputs a graph where the frequency, so the column on the right will always be the vertical component. Okay, so if I were to change the order here, it would change the order of the columns. With Excel, you can move the chart to a new place just by dragging it, and it always references this information. In fact, I can move this information to a different place too, to say this place. Oops, I didn't mean to copy it. Anyway, you can move the data to another place and it won't change the bar chart. Okay, so I want to change the title here, so I'm going to click on the chart, and I'm going to come up here to Chart Tools, and under Design, Layout, we're going to go and change the chart title, and you can change to where the display would be. You can have no chart title, above chart, and what I'm going to do is double click and change it to Distribution of T-shirt sizes among freshmen. Okay, and I don't really want this legend here. I don't really want it to, encroach on my data, so I'm going to go to the legend and remove it. Okay, I could also put in axis titles here with frequency and then t-shirt size or something like that. The other nice thing is I can move it to another location. I can right click the object and say, okay, go ahead and move chart, and what we're going to do is move chart to a new sheet and name it bar chart t-shirt. Okay, and notice we have a new tab down here. You can change the effects. You can say, oh, I want it to be a different color. You can change the stylings of it, however you want to make it look. Alright.